Where do you want to go?
Give me 1 second. We're letting a few more people in, and I think we can go. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time, especially given how busy things can be in production environments. Today, we're focusing on disinfection and sanitation testing specifically within the food and beverage industry, and want to share some practical insights on how facilities are approaching that today. As many of you know, testing in the environment isn't just about getting numbers, it's about doing it consistently and in a way that doesn't interrupt production. What we often hear from facilities is testing sits right at the intersection of quality assurance and operational efficiency. So let me ask a couple of questions here. I know we have some friends in the audience here. How many of you are currently verifying your sanitizer concentrations today? Can I get a show of hands in chat? Let's see here. Get my chat here. All right. Well, what we're hearing pretty consistently is that testing can take several minutes. The results is actually dependent on the operator, depending on what solution you do use, and in some cases, teams end up just retesting again, simply to verify their results. So what we're going to talk about today is working through a different approach. Our focus approaches this with reducing the testing time, improving consistency, and removing that subjectivity that often incorporates traditional testing methods. This is where Chemio comes in, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. Chemio is designed to provide fast, reliable, operator-independent measurements for disinfectants like PAA, parasitic acid, chlorine, and chlorine dioxide, directly into the environment where the testing has happened. So rather than just being another test method, it becomes a tool that supports both compliance and operational efficiency. So with that, I want to begin the slides. So the agenda today is to discuss Chemio and its features and benefits. Then we'll talk about how Chemio is used in food and beverage. We'll talk about applications, parameters, and the value proposition for Chemio in the food and beverage space. Joe will answer the science behind Chemio, and I'll be providing a live demo at the end of this. So I want to introduce you to our team. This is our Palintest Americas team. I have myself, Joe Johnston, which is the lead business development manager. Mr. Joseph Prock over on our screens. He is our business development manager and of all things chemical, water, and wastewater. Arturo Sabas is our account manager, as well as Abby Wright. Jordan White is our technical product specialist, and Susan Daly is our office manager and the force that keeps us all together in Golden. Our purpose, as many of you know, is that we exist for safeguarding water for everybody, every day. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Mr. Prock. He can discuss our family of products.
Thanks, Joe. So yeah, our core family of products is modest but very competent in that we are using basically 3 different technologies, predominantly one being photometric or colorimetric, the second being electrochemical, and the third being light measurement or by way of light scatter. All of these are used to monitor a variety of parameters such as disinfectants, metals, pathogens, as well as insolubles in a body of water. Next slide. So today we're going to predominantly be focusing on disinfection by way of electrochemical measurement or Chemio. This is our platform that measures a variety of metals as well as disinfectants such as free and total chlorine, chlorine dioxide, peracetic acid, as well as chlorite, a byproduct of chlorine dioxide, are actually a product to, when combined with other chemicals, creates chlorine dioxide. And finally, bromine, which is pretty much used in residential and rec water space. Next slide. So we're going to be focusing on disinfection as it relates to food processing. And that means once it comes out of the field, whether it be just in pack houses or meat and poultry rendering and packaging, as well as bottle wash and beverage bottling. So obviously there are any number of other food processing applications, but if we were going to cover all of those, we'd be here for more than 30 minutes. So in the post-harvest space, what we're doing, and again, this slide here that Joe has presented is a very generic overview of a process line for packaging, pack houses, etc. And this is ubiquitous, whether we're talking ground crops, maybe pome fruit, pit fruit, mushrooms, leafy vegetables, any number of things. And so with that, typically we have these coming into, on the front of the line, might be coming into a dump tank. So where it gets a first rinse or a pre-wash, so to speak. And then from there, it advances down into down conveyance, moved either by way of float or by way of conveyor into a wash water application where a sanitizer is applied, and maybe sometimes even in conjunction with a soapy water or surfactant to help remove not only the dirt, but maybe also the sprays and some of the other lingering effects that are collected within the field. So on this line, you'll see on this drawing, you've got two asterisks here, one to in front of the wash water, as well as in front of that rinse line, or maybe even post rinse. And these are representative of a critical control point as a part of a hazard plan to be able to monitor and manage every single critical control point within the process. So next slide. In a post-harvest production scenario, who's going to be using the Chemio? Who would be using Chemio or maybe some of their country cousin products like a DPD test or whatnot? So that would be, first and foremost, would be a food safety manager, because these are the folks that hang their hat, or actually their head is on the block if they're not getting it right. So food safety managers want to make sure that a good disinfectant residual is maintained at every control point at all times. Beyond that, we also might have maintenance or quality control technicians that will want to be able to ensure that the equipment is operating per their spec. So they also might want to take a grab sample on an occasional basis to be able to monitor, make sure that the equipment is performing on par. Lastly, production supervisors. We all have heard that the buck stops here, and this is the case for a production supervisor that is managing a line or a family of lines within a pack house. So what is the value proposition? Why Chemio? Why are we talking up Chemio versus maybe a color wheel, or a DPD drop test kit, et cetera, et cetera? Well, one of the reasons would be that we're getting fast, consistent, reliable data regardless, and we're removing any operator error based on a number of people taking the test or misinterpretation of the data that has been collected. So those are two big things. Another one is that you can ramp up, you can put this in front of a person that has never seen it before, and they can be up and running in a matter of less than 5 minutes. So because this has got onboarded instructions that walks a person through the test on a step-by-step basis, it makes it simple, it makes it reliable, and it makes it repeatable. Not only that, but because we're collecting each and every test, onboarding with that onto the unit itself that is ready to be able to be downloaded onto a computer via USB port, or even sending it up into the cloud. So we've got redundancy. What it does is consistent results that is very just flows, looks nice for reporting regulatory and compliance data. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand it over to Joe. You're muted, Joe.
Thank you for that, Joe. Yeah, so in poultry, just like the post-agricultural wash, there are several points along the line that is that sanitizers are added to the process, and of course they need to be tested. Of course, we have that on the front and back end of the slaughter, and of course we have that later on after the evisceration into the shower and the cutting and right before the packing. Washing can occur at various stages. The most processing plants that we're seeing specifically with poultry apply PAA during the equipment spraying, carcass washing, reprocessing, immersing, and chilling, and post-treatment. And they are using, in large measure, they're either using Archemio as a test method. Additionally, we are seeing users working with both titration as well as what Joe had mentioned, the DPD drop tests that are very, very popular. I'm sorry. Okay, so on post-harvest production, on the application side, again, the types of post-harvest harvested produce includes the salads, leafy greens, tomatoes, fruits, all of that, which Joe had said. And the produce is washed and treated with a disinfection to kill those pathogens to ensure food safety. The value proposition for Chemio versus other traditional methods includes that the Chemio mitigates the operational downtime, it increases the operations uptime, and of course supports that regulatory compliance control that we had talked about. The Chemio mitigates operational downtime by providing a quick and easy, and as Joe had mentioned, a non-subjective form of testing. And this is important not only for the operators on the floor itself, but for those production managers that Joe had spoke about. In many cases, there is a desire to be documented test results at certain points in order to keep a audit trail, and the Chemio provides that by maintaining test on the instrument itself, as well as the ability to offload that information into a chemical feed, a chemical feed system, or Palantest Connect, as well as your own desktop system. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So Chemio helps poultry processors to ensure that they meet the food hygiene standards by providing providing it as a part of the hygiene and quality control, washing and rinsing. Chemio is using both PAA, as we talked about, as well as chlorine dioxide. And the reason why the Chemio is preferred by operators is for the ease of use, the speed and reliability. It is 5 times faster than titration kits. Your titration, if you're doing one test, you're running probably about 15, 20, maybe more minutes. And that's if you're running one test. If you have to rerun that test, then you're doubling that time. And Chemio will provide, within parasitic acid or chlorine dioxide, they'll provide the documentable results in a minute. Here we have a process map of a bottling and a cold antiseptic fill line. This diagram here, this process map, you can see a number of different points here that sanitation is used in the CAF line. Disinfection and sanitation is not only important during the bottling process, but there are several clean in place protocols that use sanitation and disinfection to ensure food safety, and Chemio is entirely suitable for that as well. And I will mention specifically that the Chemio itself has an IP rating, which allows it to work well in wet and dirty, turbid environments. So whereas some of the other types of traditional test methods may vary in their ability to operate in this environment, Chemio certainly can stand up to that challenge. Again, the value proposition on the beverage and bottling fill lines: product quality. It maintains that hygiene during the extraction, blending, and bottling to protect the product quality and safety. Optimized chemical usage. This is where the distributors of chemicals to the food and beverage industry really shine. Both the end user, the poultry house, the post-agricultural wash house, they want to optimize their chemical usage. They don't want to overdose and overspend on their chemical costs, but they want to ensure that they have the proper disinfection. Chemio allows you to dial in very easily and with confidence the exact dosage that you need, so that you can dose with confidence while not overspending or under disinfecting. I'm going to hand it back over to Joe for the science of Chemio.
Yay! Thanks, Joe. So let's take a peek behind the curtain and let's see how this animal works, shall we? So the Chemio disinfectant, or the Chemio analyzer, how this works is by way of an electrochemical measurement, as we had shared. A moniker that is commonly dubbed for electrochemical measurement is amperometric measurement. Now, what we'll cover right now is how in the world they're measuring amperometric or electrochemical. And what this is the sensors are comprised of basically 3 subcomponents, one of which is the substrate in which the electrodes or these conductive strips are actually laid upon. So you've got the substrate, you've got the electrodes or these strips, electrode strips, and then lastly, what we do is apply and dry a chemical reagent on there that is chemical compound that when it comes in contact with water, this compound disassociates from itself. With respect to PAA, the reagent that we use is not KCl, it's Ki, or potassium iodide. So when it comes in contact with water, it disassociates the iodide from the potassium, and it's free to roam about in that sample of water. As such, it comes in contact, hopefully you've got PAA in that sample, and then when that occurs, the acetic acid of PAA will oxidize that iodide ion. And what happens is it takes an electron from that iodide, and now you've got a supercharged ion called a triiodide. That's because it's missing 3 electrons. It's hungry for electrons right now. And so this is poised and set up for the next slide where we're going to take a look at and see what occurs. Now we're going to go down very, very small. Oh, you went to, and we're going to go ahead and see what's happening inside the sample when that electrode or the sensor comes in contact with that sample water. Okay, this cartoon actually does a pretty good demonstration what occurs when that acetic acid comes in contact with the uh, when it comes in contact with the acetic or the with the iodide ion. When that occurs, as you'll see here, hopefully third time's a charm. So the green represents the ion or the iodide ion, and now that yellow is that triiodide ion. And because of that, and we know opposites attract, that positively charged ion is attracted to the negative side or the ionic strip on that sensor, and that's creating a small amperage. When I say small, we're talking, it's measured not even in milliamps, I believe sometimes in high microamperage. And because we're controlling all the variables in this scenario, including time, including the sample volume, we're also managing the pH in that sample water, and we're also managing or compensating for the temperature, and we also have the known attributes of the applied reagent. Because we know all 5 of these variables, we're able to precisely and repeatably measure the disinfectant level in that sample that we're working with. And it's repeatable, it's reliable, it's predictable. And because of that, and as well as the simplicity offered in taking this test, it makes this a pretty sweet game changer. So that's what I know in a nutshell. And now we're going to cover Connect. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Joe, and I apologize for my tricky mouse there, but you did a great job in discussing that. That's why we pay you the big bucks. Pallet Test Connect. We had spoken on several different points about the regulatory compliance portion of this, and again, simply want to reiterate that Pallet Test, the Chemio itself maintains a test log of over 10,000 individual test results. That is something that you can go in on the instrument itself and look up. That is something that you can offload to your laptop or desktop. It's also something that you can upload to our cloud via Pallet Test Connect. This Pallet Test Connect will give you a stable chain of custody that not only the quality assurance technicians can review, but also production supervisors, and also, if you're monitoring multiple plants at once and you want to have an idea of what your chemical usage is at the various different locations, you are able to have multiple locations on your Connect account, so you can remotely see those results every time, anytime. Let's see here, and I think now is where I'm going to do the live demo. So if you'll excuse me over here, I'm going to switch over to a different camera, and I'm going to show you. Let's make sure this pops up. There we go. All right, give me 1 second to go over to my test station here. All right. First of all, Joe, I just want to test our mic quality here and make sure that you can hear me now that I stepped over here.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, so here we have a Chemio. This is a Chemio multi. We did not touch on this, but Chemio can test for heavy metals, disinfection, or it can test for both. This here is a chemical multi, but in this case, we are going to start the Chemio up and test for parasitic acid. One of the great things about Chemio, and we talked about, was the ease of use. This here is a touch screen, so all you simply need to do is hit perform test. Little IR beam is going to shoot out, and see right here. You can see that the Chemio instantly knew what there was testing because it scanned that barcode. So that barcode's telling you what it's testing. Here,
Joe?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but it's not casting to the main screen. I see you in the sub menu. It might just be me, but
I can see it. Can I get someone in the chat to confirm that they can see this? I'm going to go ahead, Joe, because I can see it on my.
Oh,
on
bingo.
my screen.
Okay. No, man, I clicked on it.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Susan said yes, so they can see that. So you can see here that I can select an operator. This is also very important. Again, at the chain of custody and for your test results. If you have multiple different quality assurance technicians testing for this, you have the opportunity to know who did that test, when it was, and potentially what wash line it was, depending on how granular you want to get. So in this case, I'm going to select an operator. So I'm going to hit Joe. And I'm not sure if you can see this, and you can see that the instructions are already on screen. So again, this helps, this reduces the training time and reduces the propensity for mistakes to be made in training, because you have the test screens, you have the test directly on the screen itself. So I'm going to go ahead and follow these instructions. I'm going to go ahead and open this arm. I'm going to go ahead and open this foil. I'm going to insert it into the Chemio as such. I have my test vessel here. I'm going to fill that up. Now this is just DI water. I have not dosed this with parasitic acid, so this is just a test run. But you can see how easy it is to simply put this into the Chemio. So we followed that, and all we have to do is close that arm. You're going to be presented then with a timer, a 1-minute timer, and we will get our test results for that. When we talk about the Chemio is customizable to your specific environment. Whether you want to have users, the user labels on there, whether you want to have this in English, Spanish, French, you can change your language, you can change your units of measurements, whichever you prefer to do that. Also, as we will see, you also have the opportunity, when you get your results, you'll have an option to include in your test results actual notes. So if you want to indicate that you've taken this result from your tomato wash line number 2, then you can include that in your test results, and that will be part of the overall results. So you can see here, my parasitic acid is less than 0.05 micrograms per liter. If I go to details, I will simply see, again, here is what we have. We have our parasitic acid, our temperature of the water, my user, what time it was, what day it was, what batch ID, because this all ties back to the batches that we use for the sensors. And if I needed to do a dilution factor, it'll also account for that dilution factor. I made mention that you can add notes, so all you simply have to do is push the add notes, and you have a space here to add your notes. Hit add, and there you go. And that reference, that note reference will remain there on the test history. So we have that done. We're going to go ahead and open this. Again, you still see the instructions here. So simply remove the sensor, dispose of the test vessel. We will go ahead and grab a chem wipe to make sure we get this nice and clean. And there you go. That is testing with the Chemio. Very easy and very quick. Let's see here. Does anybody have any questions with regards to uh, that test or anything during this presentation? I'm going to wait for about 30 more seconds, and if Joe and I have done such a stellar job in explaining the entire program to you, we'll go out for lunch. Ah, why would I switch from test strips and DPD method? That is a great question. Um, Test strips and DPD methods can work, but they introduce that variability that we talked about earlier, and in they may or may not take more time, but regardless, Chemio reduces the subjectivity and provides consistent results independent of the user.
Yeah, and I would add that I would add test strips are subjective and based on operator interpretation. As such, you've got two different sets of eyes on that. You're going to end up with two different answers. So we're going to be able to minimize that with the reliability and repeatability of the Chemio.
And what we're seeing primarily, and I had mentioned this earlier, what we see primarily as testing methods in these environments are going to be the test strips, titration, or Chemio. And either one of the traditional testing methods are going to have some level of human interpretation on that, which necessarily invites in subjectivity.
And if I may, there is one more talking point that I neglected to touch on, and that is sampling strategy.
I think we lost Joe here, and I don't see another. Um, I don't see another question in the chat. Oh, I have Javier. Presentation was very clear. Thank you, Javier, for that acknowledgement. We really appreciate that. I think I have Mr. Sabas. Does it require calibration or frequent maintenance? No. That's a great question, and I appreciate that. So the maintenance on the instrument itself. So the sensors themselves are individually calibrated, and that's why we have batch numbers associated with that. Because while we'll make global claims that the instrument of plus or minus 0.05 micrograms per liter, the individual batches will drill down on that um, on that on that range specific to that batch number. So that's why we have the batches, and so the sensors themselves are individually calibrated. The unit itself simply is performing the test as it's designed. It is recommended that we do preventative maintenance on this once a year, but realistically, on a practical day-to-day basis, all you simply have to do is ensure that you're keeping the instrument clean. There are some contact pads which you're going to want to wipe down on that, but it is a very user-friendly and very low maintenance to keep operational. I see that Jordan White is I'm just waiting to see these. I am just waiting to see these questions come in. I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to respect Arturo, who's trying to type here. Well, you know what, folks? Arturo and I can get together offline on this because I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. We have I think, gone over a few minutes here, and I do want to be respectful. So if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Joe. I think Joe wants to get a last word in here.
Well, excuse me. Yeah, I did. This is somewhat important in that sampling strategy is critical. You want to make sure you're sampling downstream of your disinfection feed, but far enough downstream such that you're getting good mixing. If you're not getting good mixing, then you're not going to get that reliable, and it doesn't matter what kind of instrument you're using to test measure. I've seen this happen time and again, and people they're perplexed as to why they're getting inconsistent inconsistent results with their measuring methods, and oftentimes it's because of a lack of inadequate mixing. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Well, if anybody has any other questions, if they'd like us to come out and do a demonstration, if there's anything that we can do to help you do your jobs quicker and easier, or your customers quicker and easier and better, we're happy to help facilitate that. Simply reach out to Joe or I, and I believe our contact information is provided. And without further ado, I appreciate everyone's time for joining us. I truly do, and I will. I'll bid you adieu, and look forward to speaking with most of you in good time. Thanks for
Guys.
joining. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.